It was 2 a.m. and my heart was pounding like a war drum in my chest. Not the adrenaline rush of a firefight or the thrill before a big game. This was the sound of panic. And my thoughts were a tangled mess of what ifs that I could not run. Every muscle in my body was locked up. My breathing was shallow. The walls felt like they were closing in. I'd been here before. PTSD flashbacks, chronic fatigue, spiritual burnout. I tried all the tricks, breathing exercise, medication, mindfulness apps, even late night pacing around the house like I could outwalk the fear. Nothing stuck. That night, I hit the end of my rope. And in my raw, exhausted desperation, I did the one thing I hadn't truly tried. I worshiped. Prisoner in my own mind, if you've never lived it, it's hard to explain what crippling anxiety feels like. This wasn't a stress before a big meeting or nerves before speaking in front of people. It was a constant low hum of fear that could spike into the full-blown panic attack without warning, like a smoke alarm blaring when there's no fire. My world got smaller and smaller. I started avoiding people, canceling plans, pulling away from anything that felt like too much. While the outside world saw a functioning man, a veteran, a leader, a husband, inside I was fighting an invisible war every day. As a wounded man, I knew what it meant to push through the pain, but this wasn't the battlefield you could see. This was a war inside my own head, and it was exhausting. I wasn't passive. I fought. I read every self-help book I could get my hands on. I tried therapy. I tried medication. I overhauled my diet. I exercised until I was physically spent, thinking maybe I could sweat the fear out of me. I wrote gratitude lists while my heart was still racing. Some things helped for a moment, but it was like bailing water out of a sinking ship with a teaspoon. The panic always came back. I started to believe that deep, lasting peace was something other people got to have, but not me. And then came that night, and I was flat on my back. I was staring at the ceiling, grasping for breath. I couldn't form some long, beautiful prayer, but I remembered being a little kid in church, singing with no fear, no agenda, just singing. So I whispered the only worship song that came to mind. Waymaker, miracle work, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Over and over, through cracked voice and tears, I sang. This wasn't a performance. This was just a cry for help. Then something shifted. Not fireworks, not a booming voice from heaven, just a stillness, a slowing of the frantic heartbeat, a loosening of the knot in my chest. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. It was the same peace I felt years later on a missions trip in South Africa when God made it clear He wasn't punishing me for being broken. He was repositioning me for my next assignment. That night, I learned something. Worship isn't just music, it's a weapon. It's an act of spiritual defiance. When I feel anxiety rise, I turn to worship. I don't wait until I feel ready or spiritual. I declare truth even when my feelings are screaming the opposite. Worry magnifies the problem. Worship magnifies the problem of soul. Philippians 4, 6, and 7 became an anchor. Do not be anxious about anything. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Now, that's exactly what happened that night. My heart and my mind got guarded. Later, I learned science actually backs this up. Studies show worship and prayer activate the parts of the brain that regulates emotion and calm the fight and flight response. Harvard found people raised with consistent spiritual practices are less likely to suffer depression and more likely to have deep life satisfaction. So yes, it's spiritual, but it's also rewiring your brain. Every time I chose to worship over worry, it was like cutting a new trail through the jungle of my mind. Over time, peace became my default instead of panicked. Worship didn't erase every trigger in my life. I still feel the shadows creep in sometimes. But now I know I'm not fighting alone. I have an anchor. I have a weapon. And it's not just personal. Isolation is where the enemy does his best work. When we open the windows, let the light and the brotherhood in, the mold of anxiety can't survive. Isaiah 26:3 says, "You keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you." That's my reality now. My mind doesn't stay on the storm. It stays on God. You're not disqualified. You're redeployed. I started in the darkest night of my life, convinced I was broken beyond repair. I've learned peace isn't about fixing everything. It's about surrendering everything. The storm still rages sometimes, but now I know the size of my God is greater than the size of my fear. Brother, the same is true for you. You're not disqualified. You're just being redeployed. Which part of my story hit home for you? Two-way prayer, finding God in daily life, or anchoring in truth? Drop a comment. You might encourage another wounded man today. If this helped you, hit like. Subscribe for more honest tools to build a real walk with God. I put together a simple daily connection guide. It's a 7-day soul reset, and the link is in the description below. It's got habits and prompts that help me keep my mind anchored. It's free, so grab it at the link in the description. You're not disqualified. You are just being redeployed.